Hey everybody, my name is Sam. I'm one of the pastors here at RCC, and we are in week 3 of our This Is Us series. We've been talking about a number of different everybody's that define and make up who we are as a church, our us. And in week 3, we're talking about how everybody here at RCC connects. Everybody connects, and it's something that we want to make more and more true. To talk about this a little bit more, I sat down with Pastor Erica and just asked her a few questions about what she thinks about connecting here at RCC and where she sees it going in the future. Check it out. Erica, thanks so much for being here this morning. Why should someone want to connect here? Why should they want to be here? What's the value in it? What's the reason there? What actually matters in that way?
Well, I think people sometimes view church as a place where you come and you have to wear your Sunday best and dress your kids a certain way and look a certain way and put on a certain show.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, good morning, how are you? Oh, yeah, I'm great, I'm nice. The difference here at RCC that I see is people are real. People can come in their pajama pants and nobody cares. And I love it. And it's so casual, come as you are. And I haven't seen judgment or condemnation much. And just people really just want to love people for who they are and accept them for who they are. And you don't see that very much.
If you could imagine that there's that person, they're just starting to attend, and you look forward 1 year into the future, and you have a dream for them. What is that dream for them? What ways do you hope that they feel like they're connected here 1 year from now? What does that look like for a person?
I say my dream for you would be for you to know who you are because who Jesus says you are, and to know who he made you to be and why he made you to be the way he made you. And you're sitting here for a very specific purpose. And the journey for you to discover that is beautiful. And I just pray that you work with God to find that and to find your fit here.
Thank you so much for doing this. This was great, and I'm excited about this next year.
Me too. Thank you.
So there's this time that there's this family, and they have a couple of their kids, and with their kids, they know that Jesus is around. So they take their kids, and they're walking with them, and then they know that Jesus is in this particular place. Like, oh man, wouldn't it be amazing just for our kids to be with Jesus for a minute, like to meet Jesus for a minute? And so they get this idea, and they're all excited about it. And so they take these kids, and they come up to where Jesus is, and Jesus' disciples are kind of like on the perimeter, right? They're standing guard around Jesus on the perimeter, and they see this happen, and they see that these parents come, and they're like, oh, I'm wondering what they're thinking. What are they going to do? And so these parents, they come up to Jesus, or the disciples, and they say, hey, we would love for our kids to go and see Jesus and be blessed by him. Disciples are like, no, it's Jesus. You don't understand. Like, you just can't just go up to Jesus with your kids and bother Jesus. It's Jesus. What are you thinking? And when they said that, Jesus is looking on from a little ways away, and he sees this and hears this. And look what he says next. It says, but Jesus said, let the children come to me. Don't stop them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to those who are like these children. And he placed his hands on their heads and blessed them before he left. There's another time. Jesus is walking outside of Jericho. He's leaving the town, and as he's leaving the town, there are these couple of men who happen to have been blind since birth, and so they're out there, they're blind, and they can't see, they're trying to figure things out, and they hear that Jesus is coming. So Jesus is coming, and on his way, and as he does that, they hear that, and they begin to cry out. They cry out to him, they say, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us. Now, they do that, and people around them hear them say those words and like trying to get a hold of Jesus. Like, shh, it's Jesus. Like, quiet down. Stop making all that racket. And these blind men, knowing this Jesus coming, start to yell even louder. They say, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us. Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us. They say it over and over and over again. And then it says, when Jesus heard them, he stopped and called, what do you want me to do for you? Lord, they said, we want to see. Jesus felt sorry for them and touched their eyes. Instantly, they could see. and they followed him. Finally, a bit earlier than seeing those blind men, Jesus was walking into Jericho, and there's this big crowd looking on as Jesus is coming in, and so they're just kind of checking it out and seeing what this is all about. And there happens to be a man, a shorter man, vertically challenged, I don't know what you want to call it now, kind of like myself, and can't see over tall people. And so he's there, and he's looking on, he's trying to see Jesus. The guy's name is Zacchaeus, and he's trying to see Jesus, and he can't see over the people in front of him. And the guy, he happens to be the chief tax collector. Nobody likes the tax collector. And so everybody's like, I'm not going to let him through here to see him. I'm not going to give him a fair chance to see him. And so Zacchaeus, knowing he's not going to budge his way through to see Jesus, he sees this tree up ahead. He sees this tree, and so he runs off to the tree, and they call it a sycamore fig tree, whatever that means. It's the translation, that's what they call it. And so he climbs up this tree. He's like, yes, finally, Jesus is coming this way. I'm going to sit in this tree up here, and I'll get to see Jesus walk on past. Well, little did he know that Jesus wasn't just going to walk on past. This is what it says that happened next. It says, when Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and called him by name. Zacchaeus, he said, quick, come down. I must be a guest in your home today. So he is. He becomes a guest in Zacchaeus' home. He goes to his place, and I'm sure there's food and whatever else, but they sit together and they spend time together, Jesus with Zacchaeus. And as this is going on, the people that are looking on from afar, they see this happen, and they're thinking, like, what is going on? This is a chief tax collector. He got rich and probably off of other people's backs. It's not so nice. Why would Jesus be spending time with this guy named Zacchaeus? And why would he eat with such a not nice person? So Jesus, he sees this happen, and he hears this, and what happens next is amazing. It says this, meanwhile, Zacchaeus stood before the Lord and said, I will give half my wealth to the poor, Lord. And if I have cheated people on their taxes, I will give them back 4 times as much. Jesus responded, salvation has come to this home today, for this man has shown himself to be a true son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save those who are lost. In each and every one of these cases, with these young children, with the blind men, with Zacchaeus, each and every one of them was about to have their lives impacted by Jesus in this crazy way, this powerful way. They knew if they could just get Jesus' blessing, if they could just get his healing, if they could just catch a glimpse of the man, something in their life was going to change. It was worth the effort just to come in contact and connect with Jesus. But in each and every case, well-meaning people doing their best to, kind of take care of and protect Jesus, they almost prevented them from having that connection, from meeting Jesus. It almost stopped. As a church, here at RCC, we cannot and we will not be the kind of place where, in the name of keeping things as they are, or in the name of having this nice little group of people who fit a particular mold or whatever it might be, guard Jesus and therefore prevent people from connecting with him. That can't be who we are. Jesus wanted nothing to do with that sort of thing. Look what he said. He says this to some what you would think would be well-meaning religious leaders of the day. He said, yes, said Jesus, what sorrow also awaits you experts in religious law, for you crush people with unbearable religious demands, and you never lift a finger to ease the burden. So Jesus isn't a fan of keeping people from him. What's more than this, Jesus is going to go get them anyway. He'll just go around us if we're trying to prevent people from it. I don't want people going around us. I don't want Jesus going around us. Do you? By the way, I'm Sam. I'm one of the pastors here. Welcome to Ripon Community Church. If you're new here, we're in the series right now we're calling This Is Us. It's a series kind of connected to that show, This Is Us. A bunch of you have seen it. We're talking about real life and kind of like figuring out who they are as a group of people in a family. Well, as a church, we're 16 years in now, and we're figuring out and have a better idea than we ever have of who we are as a church family and who God is making us into and helping us to become. And so every week we've been talking for the past two, and now this is the third week, about some different everybody's that kind of characterize who we are as a church family. A couple weeks ago, we talked about how everybody fits. Last week, we talked about how everybody invites, and this week we're going to talk about how everybody connects. And so we're going to be continuing to talk through these everybody's every single week. And it's a good thing to memorize. What are our everybody's here at RCC? Everybody fits, invites, connects, and we'll get to the next three in the coming weeks. But as we do that, it's fun, because if we're honest, this just offers us a chance to be really honest with ourselves. Very real about who we are as a church. And if we were to assess like all these areas, because we find these in the Bible, especially in the passage about the first church in the book of Acts, Acts 2. We see how these kind of things play out in each and every one of those. But as we do that, we should assess ourselves, right? Look in the mirror. What ones are we doing well? What ones aren't we doing well? And if we had to honestly kind of assess ourselves based on these 6 things, Connects would probably be the one that's the hardest. Probably the one that's the most difficult to do well, and the one that we probably struggled with the most. It's actually one of the reasons for Pastor Erica, who I interviewed on the screen a little bit ago, and there's more to that interview if you want to check it out on Monday. The whole thing's on there if you want to see that. But her role here is part children's ministry and then also part connections and connecting people to each other and to RCC and most of all to God. And so that's kind of exciting to see that, but as she was being interviewed, I love it. She's been here for like a month or so, and she already gets it, right? You can wear pajama pants. That's pretty much it. Maybe not it, but it's a big part of it. It's fun to be able to be who you are here as you come in this place. I think that's awesome. But ultimately, our goal as a church, more than anything else, is to help you connect with God, to help you connect with Jesus. Because when that happens, when we have that connection with Jesus, something happens. There's this light that goes on. There's this change and transformation that happens. Like the 3 stories I started with, there's a blessing. Like the kids, right? They get blessed. There's healing. They're able to see for the first time. And some of us, maybe our eyes are fine, but we don't really see so well. And maybe we need to see better. Maybe there's a life change like it was for Zacchaeus. In every one of those ways, we can, as we connect with Jesus, grow and see those things happen in our life. Don't you want that, right? Don't you want some transformation in your life? Things that have been kind of stinky for whatever amount of time. Wouldn't you love to see your life changed and made more meaningful and purposeful and therefore better, right? But to have that, you have to connect. I was thinking about that this week. My oldest son, he got this gift a while back. It was a board that looks like this, an electrical board or whatever you want to call it. It's got batteries and different connections, and his favorite thing to do on one of these is there's this little fan, like a helicopter thing, where if you get it to plug in, it like goes really crazy, and then it flies up into the air, and he loves that so much so that I think we've fried the batteries multiple times just dealing with that whole thing. Like tries to put it on while it's still spinning, and that doesn't work. Anyways, that's another thing. When you try to make a connection, right, you're dealing with all these different parts, and you're trying to connect the pieces so that the electrical current will go through it. It'll be uninterrupted. So there's no break in the connection. There can't be that misconnection or that break, because if it's not, then there will be no power. That's what a switch is, right? If you have a switch, you break the connection, you switch it back on, and the connection is reformed. For us, as long as there's a path that flows uninterrupted between us and God, then there's a connection. Then there's blessing and healing and life transformation. It's available to all of us. We've all got these messy, hard lives, and we need to connect with God in order to do so, and we can. It's possible for us. This is why we work so hard to keep distractions out of our services, right? The whole point of being here on a Saturday night or a Sunday morning is for each of us to connect with God. It's why we hardly do announcements, and when we do, we always try to have it be a purposeful thing and pointing us to God. It's why we carefully choose worship songs that guide you into a place of worship. It's why we set an environment in here where the world can be stripped away for like just a few minutes, right? Wouldn't that be nice? Like just the world stripped away for a few minutes where you don't have to be distracted by all the noise outside, and you can focus on God. It's why we speak from the Bible and draw our inspiration from the Bible. If you're looking to connect with God here at RCC, then being here in these seats and being here on a Saturday or a Sunday, it's got to be a priority, right? It's a good priority. It's a chance for us to take a step, a consistent and weekly step to connect with God. It's an awesome chance to do it. And yeah, life happens. We miss some. It's not a big deal, but it's awesome to do it on a regular basis. And I think the more we do it, the more regularly we do it, the more that connection stays intact. We were just talking about wires and connections. I'm wondering, there's like different types of wires, right? And different types of materials they use to connect electricity. Apparently, the best one, like the most efficient metal that they use for having electricity is silver. But they don't use silver very often because it corrodes too quickly. So instead of doing silver, you also do copper and even gold. Like you can maybe fashion a ring out of one of those wires for yourselves and, I don't know, have a gold ring. That's a terrible joke. Okay. But anyways, there are these different wires, right? You have different concoctions to make it so that the electricity flows properly. You also have different coatings and insulating things so that the electricity stays within the path that it's supposed to be going down. So it's properly and efficiently taken from one place to another. When you see a set of power lines that are down, you should stay away because what it means is that electricity is flowing out into whatever it can connect with. And you don't want to touch water by it. That would be bad. You can do all kinds of things to not go well. So you stay away from that raw energy spilling out because it's not good for us. If we're like the lights, right, the light bulbs, and we need God in order for that energy to light us up, then there are things that can help us connect with God, to connect with Him in a way that's productive and life-changing and not just haphazard, right? We kind of plug in here or there or wherever. The electricity's kind of flowing a little too free. Or sometimes I'll go and plug into this area, or I'll plug into that area, and it kind of just maybe halfway happens. There's some good wiring we can use to help us grow our faith. In the early church, the church we find in Acts 2, you can see how they did this. They were devoted to the apostles' teachings. They spent time together. They called that fellowship. They shared meals. They shared everything they had. It talks about this specifically in verses 42 and 44. It says, all the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing in meals, including the Lord's Supper, and to prayer. And all the believers met together in one place and shared everything they had. When we talk about everybody connecting here, we really do mean everybody. Everybody. And there are so many ways to do that. It said that they met in one place to worship. And we do that right here, right? And it's not all together. It's over 4 services over the weekend, but we meet together to worship. There's teaching. In addition to sermons, there's also midweek, which happens on Tuesdays. It's actually this coming Tuesday. If you're interested, you can show up to that at 5:30 for dinner, and 6 is the thing. There's community groups where you meet in people's houses. If you're still wanting to get in one of those, talk to me after the service. There's Next Step seminars. If you look up on the screen, we have Next Step seminars coming up in just a second here. Those are the dates for the Next Step seminars. These are just these awesome chances to have a little bit of learning take place. First, the Discovery one is all about what it means to be a Christian, and then also a little bit about what RCC is all about and kind of how those two come together. The second one is design. For design, what that's all about is just this chance to understand who you are, how God made you, and then as He made you, start to understand how you can begin to use those gifts that God has given you for Him. The next one is dynamics, and dynamics is all about just the different ways that we can connect with God, like prayer and reading your Bible and all these different ways that you can do that well. And then the last one is a brand new one. It's called Connect, and it'll be specifically about how you can connect here at RCC. It's something we want to do really, really well in this coming years. So I encourage you, if you haven't been to those, and the fourth one is brand new, so if you want to go to that one and check it out and connect there, feel free to mark that on your calendar and go to that. That's one type of connection. That's the kind of thing that makes the power travel a little faster through the wires, It's the coating or the type of wire that it is. But by learning together, whether it's at a seminar or a community group or a midweek or even here on the weekend, we're better able to learn and apply what we find God teaching us in the Bible. It's not just us on our own. It's us with others trying to do the exact same thing. Other views and perspectives, when we have those, they actually sharpen our connection with God. They sharpen us and how we connect with him. In Ephesians, Paul, he says this. He says, and may you have the power, there's that word, power, to understand, as all God's people should, how wide, how long, how high, and how deep his love is. May you experience the love of Christ, though it is too great to understand fully. Then you will be made complete with all the fullness of life and power that comes from God. Even Paul was talking about connecting to God's power, knowing it, experiencing it in your life. When you're connected, you get to see it. You get to experience it. You get to have eyes that actually are aware of it. Often, we maybe think of God like being powerful and like jumping down into like everyday normal life and like showing up and speaking audible words or making a car turn a different direction so that there's not a crash or something like that. But often what normally happens and how God really works is not just in these crazy powerful things, but it's through people. It's through connections. And God can work through people in the most silly, fun ways even like having kids have God work through kids and having them do powerful things. There's a scene in the This Is Us series that actually illustrates this really well. Take a look. Is Weird Al still like a thing? Okay, he still is a thing. All right, great. I was just curious because it's been forever. It's a little silly. I know it's goofy. I mean, that bridge doesn't scare me. It looked pretty sturdy, but it scared her. I think what's beautiful about it is, and it's just a fun and silly example, but kids can be powerful too, right? God can work through anybody. God can do amazing things when we're connected with others, when we're not on our own, when we're not just doing our own thing, thinking we can do it all by ourselves. It's often in community and in connection that God works. We get each other over scary bridges together in life. We all need that. We all need a community to be connected to. We all need those wires that tether us to each other. We need more than just those acquaintances. Just people you kind of know. You need people you know. Those wires are essential, and we all want to connect like that, but it's also not just wires these days, right? I mean, that's one way to connect. It's like that hardline connection, but it's also a lot more stuff. It's like that wireless connection thing, like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and probably 5 other ones I don't even know about yet. Have you ever been to a hotel or like a coffee house where you're trying to find the Wi-Fi password? Yes? For me, it doesn't necessarily always feel like it's free. Like they advertise free Wi-Fi, but like, yeah, but I've spent 3 hours of my life looking for the password to get connected to the free Wi-Fi that you've hidden from me. For example, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but sometimes like you go into a coffee house, not in Ripon, okay, that never happens in Ripon, but if you go to a coffee house and you're somewhere and you're trying to like find the free Wi-Fi that they advertise on the website, and you're trying to find the password and you're looking all over and like it should be like in blinking lights on the side of the wall so you know what it is because it's free, and then you finally like give up, like there's no way, but you kind of do like the walk of shame from the table that you chose over to where the barista is. That's always a little crabby sometimes, you know, like they're like just maybe looking at you like you don't belong for sure. You're not sure if you belong, and so you walk over to the barista and you say, "Hey, I'm sorry, but what's the password?" And then this barista, they look at you and like look down your nose, like you can just feel the condemnation and judgment as they like point to the little picture that's right in front of you that says coffee 9563271, something like that, right? And you're like, okay. There you go. There's the password. But I had to hunt for it, right? And I feel like an idiot as I walked away from that place. Like, how could I have not seen that? That can't be how people feel connected here. That can't be how it happens. We don't want anybody feeling out of the loop. Sometimes it just happens, though, right? Sometimes it just happens where you feel a little bit out of the loop. So what I want you to know is that there are so many ways to know what's happening, so many ways to be connected, and I'm just going to go through as many as I could come up with this week, and there's probably more, but what I want to do is just give you an idea. If you're not connected in one of these ways, I want to encourage you to do so this week. so that you know what's going on here and you can feel like you're a part of this place and part of what God is doing here. The first one, we talk about Wi-Fi. Let's talk about online stuff. There's Facebook. There's Instagram, there's website, there's YouTube. Those are all different ways that we connect with people. A lot of the stuff that we have going on, some silly stuff that is happening as well, is often put on Facebook and Instagram. So if you haven't connected with us on either of those, that's a great way to do it. The website is also a great source of information, talks about our values and mission and all these different parts about who we are as a church. In addition to that, there's YouTube. We have all these videos for the sermons, but in addition to that, we put out other content so you can get a hold of that stuff on our YouTube channel. You can look at all that stuff online. If you want directions on how, just email me this week and I will get it to you easily. There's another way. You can email us. There you go. The next one is weekend services. If you have that little thing called a program or a bulletin, whatever you want to call it, that has information on it. So you can look at that and know what's going on. We laugh because we put stuff in the program, and then people ask us questions, and then I was in the program. I'm that way. I don't read the program very well. I have to force myself to. Maybe you're like me. Maybe you would rather have it be somewhere else. So instead of it just being in the program, it's also always up on the screen before and after the service. So if you get here a minute before the service, not 3 minutes after, which is totally fine. It's okay. It's cool. But if you get there at that point, you can feel free to peruse the screen 2 minutes, and you're totally caught up on everything that's happening here at church. Awesome. In addition to that, this red card here, if you fill this out and put your email on it and then say Mike's email or something right down on the bottom, if you're not getting Mike's email weekly, he often sends out updates once a week, maybe twice, and sometimes he doesn't at all, but it's very rare. And they're always fun, interesting emails to get. It's like a normal email from a person. It's not some newsletter or whatever, just a normal email. You can feel free to put your email address down on that, and you'll be updated from him. Additionally to that, to be connected to us here at RCC, and maybe get to know the staff a little bit, or maybe Mike and Janet, his wife Janet, Pastor Mike. We're have dessert with Mike and Janet coming up really soon. So if you want to mark those dates, here's the deal: you should go. Maybe you kind of know them, maybe you kind of don't. Go anyways. 1, there's free dessert. 2, there's so many interesting things that I've talked about, the history and how this place happened. If you're interested in that at all, put the date down and check it out. It'd be super fun. It'll be a great time, and it's next door, and it's free dessert and fun. You don't want to miss that. That's one. The second one is this: meet the staff. If you don't know 1 or 2 of the staff members, you should go anyways, even if you've been here for forever, maybe 5 years, maybe 3 years. I kind of know people, but I kind of don't. Just come. We had one a weekend ago or 2 weekends. I can't remember what it was. But it was fun because one person came and they knew half the staff, didn't know the other half, and they asked some really interesting questions. They didn't think I liked them. Actually, to be perfectly clear, this is the question they asked me. They said, "Sam, I don't think you like me because you kind of ignore me on the weekend." I'm like, "No, I just ignore you on Sundays." And that was half true. That's a longer story. We get along really well. It's just a fun thing. But you can ask any question you want. If you don't know somebody, there's food. It's fun. It takes a short bit of time. It's worth your time. You'll feel so much more connected because you'll know what's going on. I couldn't recommend that more. Additionally, there's the New Here booth, which is outside, downstairs, after every service all weekend, and it's just a chance to get information. If you're new here, you just want to know something, there's always nice people. We don't let any mean people be behind there, and you can talk to them and find out a little bit of information just about what the church is all about, or just hey, I'm interested in community groups. Where do I go for there? That's a great way to do that. Lastly, last 2 are this. Number 1 is coffee. I love coffee. A lot of you like coffee. Let's get one, okay? It's a fun way to just get to know somebody. We're always open since the beginning of the church. Mike met with hundreds of people for coffees. We continue that to this day. If you want to chat, we will always make time for grabbing a coffee and talking about anything you want to talk about and feeling like you're plugged in. Last one is this: just come say hi. That'd be awesome, right? Just come talk to anybody on staff, anybody that's around you that you think that they're all new, that they're all been here forever. Half of them have not. We talked about that last week. Feel free to just say hi to somebody. Say hello. It's an awesome way to just find out a little bit more and feel a bit more connected. Whew. Now I went through all that. Those are all ways to get connected. And honestly, this is something that we care deeply about. We want you to feel like you know what's going on here, and we also want you to feel like you are known. It's an important thing. So as you continue on here, know that we're always trying to do that better, and we're never going to stop trying to do that better. So as you have things that come up, just talk about it. If you don't feel like you're connected, come and talk, because we don't ever want that to be the case. And why do we care so much about it? Well, for starters, because doesn't Jesus make it crazy clear that he cares about it? I mean, he says, let the children come to me. And he says to the blind men, they can see, right? He makes them see. He goes off to them and meets them. He goes right up to the trees Zacchaeus climbed up and invites himself over for dinner. And like in each of those instances, when there is a connection made by Jesus, when the wires align and there's no breaks, the light goes on and lives change and get transformed into something powerful, something amazing that only God could do. That's what's available to each and every one of us. When we connect with God and when we connect with each other, that's what's possible. So what can you do with this? You've been here tonight, you've listened to all this connection stuff. What does that actually mean for your life? How can you connect? Maybe you're here tonight and you do feel disconnected, like you just don't know that many people, you're not sure what's going on, you kind of just show up, but you want to be more connected. Mark a date on the calendar. There's those things that we just talked about. If you want more dates, feel free to let me know, and we can have that there. But mark a date on the calendar, follow through on one of those things we talked about, get coffee, meet somebody. It's worth it. One of those steps, I guarantee, will make a significant difference in how much you feel connected here with people, but then also it'll transfer into how much you are able to feel like you can connect with God here. And I want that for you. Maybe you're here tonight and you do feel connected. You do feel like you know what's going on. You just feel that way. Be welcoming. Like, help other people connect. Say hi to somebody that you've never met before, even though they're not like the normal people you say hi to, because when you do that, it opens up such a huge door for people. They don't have to do the hard part of going first and saying hi. Just say hi to somebody. If you haven't seen somebody, met somebody, just say hi. You don't have to like go further. If they want to go further, they can go further. But just say hi. How's it going? You know, that's a huge deal. You don't have to put anybody on the spot. Just make sure that people feel like they're welcomed. And if they want to talk more, you can sense that and feel that out and go for that. Or maybe there's one of these areas, maybe the connection booth. Maybe you are a nice person. No mean people allowed. But if you are a nice person, you could be part of that connection booth or whatever it is. But serve in one of those areas where you can be the person that makes people feel welcomed. Here's how to remember that. I like to think of RCC as this, right? This whole big pile of Legos. We have lots of them at our house, like big tubs for 4- and 6-year-old boys. They love the Legos. They're everywhere. We try to avoid them, and we always don't, right? Like, gosh, right? You step on one. But I feel like RCC is that. Like, we're a whole bunch of random Legos. And somehow, by the way, we're not like a neatly packaged one that you buy at the store where you follow like this nice, neat step and like this amazing thing comes out. Like, that's not what we are. But I think that's okay. Because when I watch kids play with Legos, when I watch my son play with Legos, I love him like following the directions and having that final product. That's cool. But what I love so much more is when this happens. So he took a bunch of Legos and made this huge old like thing he's into dinosaurs. So he's all about the dinosaurs in Jurassic World. And so he made this big old thing without any directions. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. Way to go, kid. That's really cool. I love it. And I don't know if you can tell, the picture's okay, but it's pretty impressive. Like, I can't believe you put all these things together. I feel like that's what we're like. We're all a bunch of misfits. We're not necessarily sure where we belong exactly, but we belong here. We fit here. We can connect here. And like Legos, we can connect with each other, and we can become, by God's own leading, something that's pretty spectacular, something that's pretty amazing. So as you think about that, you can grab a Lego on the way out. I believe we have Legos for you. If not, then you can grab one from my kids later. But we'll get those to you next week if for some reason we don't have them tonight. But I believe we have Legos for you on the way out. And as you put that Lego somewhere, what I want for you to do is remember that, one, you belong, you can connect here, but then you also have spots for other people to connect. And you can be that for somebody else. So as we finish here, I'm going to say a prayer, and my prayer is going to be very simple, that we would be a place where we can connect with God in each of our own individual lives, and that also we be a place where we can connect with each other, and that God could work through those connections. So as you finish up here with me, would you pray with me? Dear God, thank you that you made us who we are. People who have the ability to connect with you and follow you and serve you and grow closer to you. Thank you for that. Also, God, thank you that we can connect with each other and that you can work powerfully through those connections. God, we ask that as we do, as we connect with you more and as we connect with each other more, that you would make something amazing here. That you would help us each feel like we are connected to each other, but even more than that, and most of all, to you. And that in that connection, we could experience blessing, that we could experience healing, and that we could experience life transformation. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.